Hey, welcome back. As I mentioned earlier, ever since the murder of George Floyd, America has been experiencing a summer of protests. We've seen millions of people take to the streets asking for Black Lives to matter. We've also seen some of those marches hijacked by outsiders with different agendas. And somehow, local sheriff's departments are able to magically armor up like they've been in Fallujah this whole time. How'd they get that gear? Where does a city like Kenosha hide tanks? Seriously. But like most of you, I'm not in the streets, and we're seeing the protests filter through television and social media, and I think it's hard for us to piece together a clear narrative out of shaky iPhone footage taken by people dodging rubber bullets. And that's why I'm so glad my first guest could join me tonight, because she has been in it for a long time. She was part of the Ferguson protests in 2014, and now she's set to become the next Democratic Congresswoman from Missouri's 1st District, Cori Bush. Welcome to the show, Cori. I'm so honored you would be here on our first show. Thank you so much.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you for the invite, and congrats.
Oh, thanks. Back at you. Well, I really wanted to have you on it because you've been in it. You were in the middle of it. I mean, even your shirt, Ferguson Frontline. So getting your perspective, I think, would be awesome. And when I look at the protests that are going on now, like, is there like strategy of like where you should even have a protest, or is it better this part of the city or that part? Do some of those discussions go on?
Absolutely. So much of it is based on the moment and what happened. Do we want to be at the police department, that for that situation, or do we want to be where the person lost their life, or do we want to be? So it has to have meaning, and it has to be. It's more organic that way.
Yeah.
You have to also make sure that you're not promoting ableism. So you look at making sure that anybody that wants to come should be able to come. So
Right.
Is there access? So all of that comes into play. Safety.
And there's so much talk about the efficacy of protests, like what protest tactics tend to work?
Resilience. And diligence,
Wow.
perseverance is what brings the change.
Wow.
And then just making this big coalition of people from different walks of life that do different things, that helps to bring the change. One thing that we saw during Ferguson was we had regular everyday people out in the streets, the unemployed,
Yeah.
students, nurses, postal workers, whoever were out together from different backgrounds, racial backgrounds, and all of that.
Yeah.
But what we were missing was people who had the power of the pen,
Wow.
to be able to write bills and get laws passed on our behalf. And so that's why I went into politics. And,
Yes.
and I wanted to save my son's life.
I wanted to ask you too, like, who's setting the agenda for reform? Like, I wasn't on the defund the police phone call. Nobody called me. I would have said, I don't know about that messaging. Like, where does the agenda get set?
I can't speak for across the country, but I can
Right.
speak for what I know happens within the circles that I'm in. We'll talk while we're out on a protest. You're there for hours. You're there
Sure.
for, we'll take from what we had a meeting with someone, we'll take from that meeting. So it's just organic. Again, There is no leader. There is no one person, there is no one group that gets to make the decisions. We all have our own ideas and our needs for our particular areas that we also want to see across the country. The point of it is to save Black lives,
Right.
Period. That's the point. So
Yes.
however we need to get there, that's what we want to do.
Yes, period with a T at the end of it, right?
With period.
Yeah, period. Is it frustrating though? Like, from our perspective on television, it looks like chaos sometimes, with people sometimes looting, sometimes fires erupting, conflicts with the police. What does that feel like in the middle of it? Does it feel like things are out of control, or does it feel like people just need to see this raw kind of anger? Like, how does it feel like on the inside?
It feels like all of that, I mean, it's uncomfortable, but it's not supposed to be comfortable because we're talking about death,
Right.
which is final, which is a whole life that was lost. So it's not supposed to be comfortable. There is chaos happening because the people that but you don't know these other people. So you don't know if somebody's going to do something that could put people in harm's way.
Right.
But your focus is to bring the awareness and the visibility. So you keep moving, regardless of what else is going on. What is your mission and why are you there? So that's what and then you connect with those people that are like-minded and you all do that thing. Other people are going to do other stuff, but that's okay because it's a movement, and then it's a leader-full movement. It's not a leader-less movement like people try to say.
Yeah, I get a little salty when I see people who I say are hijacking Black pain, because I agree with you. This is about saving Black lives, right? This movement. But sometimes I'll see, I feel like other groups maybe have their own agendas sometimes at protests. I saw, there was these 2 white girls in black who were spraying Black Lives Matter, fuck the police. And a black girl was saying, no, stop it, don't do that. Is it frustrating if it feels like other groups with other agendas kind of you know, are riding the coattails of this sometimes, and maybe there's mixed messages that aren't necessarily good, you know.
There's a lot of gray
Yeah.
in that, you know, because, you know, you want to have people who have access that you don't have
Sure.
showing up to your actions because they can do things that you can't do.
Right.
You know, also you need to get numbers, you need to get, you know, so all of that helps. But you also make sure that you're educating your community to say, hey, look, when it's a Black Lives Matter protest or our action, Black people have to be leading.
Right.
And the only thing we're asking you to do is be an ally. You know, and no different than if it's a Latinx action.
Yes.
As a Black woman, I'm not going to be in the front. I'm not going to do things that I wasn't asked to do. But it's about educating and then not allowing people to just do stuff.
Right,
You know,
right, exactly,
But one thing we don't want to do too is stop people from doing what feels like that's for them.
Okay.
If this is a Black-led event, if Black folks, if this is how you want to express yourself, then you go do that. I'm not getting ready to stop you.
Right,
you know,
right.
because you know what? Because we come from different things,
Sure.
we have different experiences. That's what happened during Ferguson in the beginning. We had clergy, we had elected officials, we had different people telling us that, no, this is how you protest, this is how you behave. And what we were saying is, look, if you knew everything, you would have stopped this from happening. We wouldn't even be here if you knew everything.
Uh-oh.
So don't come at us now and want to talk now. You know,
Right.
stop. Like, don't do that. You allowed us to be here, so now let us express ourselves how we feel.
Yeah, and I mean, you're absolutely right. And all of this is not easy, but I think because there's been so much pain for so long, it's really not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to hurt a little bit, you know. Well, I'll tell you what I see when I see Cori Bush. I see the next Congresswoman from Missouri. Cori Bush, thank you so much. Look at you, like that one, right? Thank you so much for joining me on my first show. That was so great. And really,
Yes.
really wish you the best of luck. It's such a difficult problem, so we're so glad you're in there fighting for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you.